Hello everyone. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about how you're doing your alchemy wrong. So I'll bring the map up probably in a little bit, but honestly, these three pictures right here kind of just ties it all in. So first, starting out with alchemy, I was always told, you want to go ahead and have your rank 50 weapon with rarity 100, 40% innocent boost, whether you want critical damage or critical percentage, all of that set up. And part of that is true. So yes, you want to go ahead and start to roll for those bottom three, particularly the bottom two. Go ahead and get your percentages in, whether it's your damage skill or anything like that, but always wait until the very, very, very last to start rolling innocent effect. So with this first weapon here on the far left, we've got one that most people, at least starting out listening, would say this is close to perfect. You have the 40% innocence, you have the 98 critical damage. Yeah, you could get 100, but rolling that could be quite annoying, and 98 is still pretty good. And then you have your double star percent up. This is, a great weapon for future warrior plein air doing crap tons of damage, right? Yes, but it could be better. And I don't mean by the 98% being 100. So I started toying around with innocent effect and all that. This is actually someone else's weapon, Hiyumi. This is their weapon. Whenever I brought this whole thing up, they actually rolled a couple times to try to test it. They had already had the 40% and everything, but they trusted me in this, which is great. Then they rolled this 23% innocent effect. So you're looking at this, you're like, this is way worse, right? It's kind of crap. 23% is nowhere near 40. The problem with that is, if you look at the second innocent right there, it's the green plant girl. I cannot remember their names, but it matches the same one at the bottom in star damage, meaning that one's also going to get a boost, as well as their red sludge. So they now have the green plant and the red sludge, right? The Flora Beast 2 and where's that 3 and the Sludge 2. Both of those are getting 23%, not just one of them from the 40. That made their attack stat go from 16.92 to 16.97. Yeah, a 50,000 attack boost just for even getting one overlap at 23% versus 40. So to put this in perspective, is once this is equipped, it's 100,000 difference. Because if you have 50 weapon mastery and you equip something, it doubles the stats. So that's 100,000 attack difference. Once you start boosting that, let's say you're at 300% attack buff, right? That's 300,000 attack different just for having 23% and one overlapping. So they rolled a couple more times, right? And they got this next weapon. So they rolled this next one. It again has the Floral Beast, but it also has the Purple Fairy, right? And then they also kept the red in. So they have two overlapping at 29%, bringing them up. What is this? Close to, that's 3 million or 320,000 attack. Putting that in perspective, that's 640,000 just for equipping it. equipping it. And what is that? 1.8 million? Yeah, 1.8 million difference in attack once you actually buff something up at 29%. So even though it's not 40, you're still getting a ton of extra, attack in there. So even if you get to 40, if you get into 40 with an overlap, keep it. That's by far really nice. But personally, what I would shoot for is something above. So the way the math goes is 40% with no overlap is the equivalent of one innocent overlapping at 20%. So anything over 20% with one overlapping is automatically better. Let's see. I will pull up some quick math. Okay, so bringing up this math now, this is where it gets a little confusing because I'm only talking in terms of if there's no overlap in the bottom three. If there's no overlap in the bottom three, which definitely can happen, especially if you start getting these ones that you really want, the 30%, 100% critical damage, those may not overlap. And you wouldn't want to try to reset those for them to overlap. So this is going to be the easiest method. But if you end up getting an overlap, I'm going to show the math for that in a second. So if there's no overlap in the bottom three, at 40% with no overlap, that's 93.6% boost to the attack on that weapon. 20% would be the equivalent, so 21% and up is a 0.18% boost to that. So, one overlap at 21% is 93.78% buff to that weapon. If you end up with, more than 21%, you've automatically got something better than 40% with no overlap. Now, if you get to the overlap, this is where it gets pretty nice, right? The more overlap, the better it gets, and the higher your percentages can really start to add up. So even if you were at like 14% with two overlapping, that's still, it comes out to the exact same percentage as the 21% with one overlapping, which is better than the 40% with no overlapping. So you can see where this is going. The more that overlaps, the better your stats are going to end up being. Now I'm going to get into if some of the bottom ones overlap. And if some of the bottom overlap, that means that you don't have to worry about some of the top. And so having another overlapping does help even more, but you don't have to stress about it as much. Okay, so with one of them overlapping in the bottom, let's say your two 30% that you have down there, each one has, slime number 2. So they overlap. That will lead you to have one extra innocence that you can put towards your innocent percentage at the very top, even though it doesn't overlap with the bottom, right? So if you roll a 40% with no overlap from the top one to the bottom ones, but still have one of the two bottom ones overlapping, that'll give you a 97.2% buff to your attack stat on that weapon. A significant buff to the 93.6 that you saw with no overlap whatsoever in the entire thing. Even more so of an overlap than, getting two overlaps at the top with no overlaps at the bottom. Now, going by that same standard, you would think, oh, I've got two at the bottom. If I get one overlap with the top, 21% could be even better, right? Because I'll have 3 to put towards that percentage at the top. Well, not necessarily. It is better than that, 93.78% that you saw on the last one, but it actually goes down from the 40%. It's a game of big numbers and percentiles versus cost versus profit. So in reality, it comes out to be 27% is that golden number. Once you have one of those bottom ones overlapping, to get better than that 40%. So it kind of goes up. And then once you have two overlapping from top going to the bottom, but have one of the bottom ones overlapping, I know I'm saying overlapping a lot. Stick with me here. 14% that we did last time, that 93.78. Yeah, you go up to 95%, but that 95% is still less than, heck, even the one overlapping at 20%. So the golden number here is, so 20% will make it completely even with no overlapping at 40%, and 21 will get you that extra bump up, right? I'm saying this all to say, once your bottom three are set in stone, if you have any overlapping on the bottom, you can already guarantee your stats are going to be better than anyone's who don't have overlapping at the bottom. But you can always build upon that. Getting 27% or higher with one overlapping is going to be way, way easier than trying to roll that 40% over and over and over. You've got 13% or 13 numbers to work with, from 20, or I guess that's 14 numbers to work with, from 27 to 40 to roll. And at some point, if you roll any overlapping in between there, it's going to be better than that 40%. So I would actually effectively stop rolling all that. Looking at their stats over here, their 29% with two overlapping is, it's hundreds of thousands of attack higher. If they had ended up getting one overlapping at the bottom, it would have been, their dream come true. That 17.2 million would have actually become, I'm going to bring up mine. I don't have perfect stats at the bottom, but it'll actually show you effectively what it would become. Okay, so this is actually mine that I rolled up. I've been trying to, roll up that extra wind damage at the bottom. But as you can see, I have two fairies overlapping at the bottom. And then I also have two of the, what are they called? Deaths overlapping for the bottom two. And the two fairies are overlapping for the second and third one. So I have two overlapping on the bottom, as well as the fairy at 38% at the top is overlapping as well. So there's no reason for me to actually re-roll up to 40%, because if it ends up not overlapping, that 38% is way better than the 40%. Looking at theirs, they're at 17.29 million attack. I'm at 17.8 million attack. That's a, 500,000 attack difference, which ends up being a 1 million attack difference whenever it's equipped, and a 3 million difference whenever it's buffed, just from having those overlaps. So if you ever end up getting, so in my case, I'm actually not going to re-roll that 94% critical damage, just because I feel like that extra 3 million attack will end up being better than me trying to get something that doesn't overlap. I don't advise re-rolling the bottom three to try to get overlap, but if you ever get something that's near perfect, like a 99%, and it just so happens to overlap with one of the bottom ones, keep it. keep it. It's going to be way better in the end. You know, I didn't even need to pull up a picture when I could just share you right in the game, couldn't I? That being said, I've kind of run out of prelixirs, and as you can see, not much has changed. 2 green fairies and the 2 deaths right here overlapping. Ends up getting it the same exact thing that you saw on the screen. On the screen where we got the picture that I put up. But that's about it. I just wanted to say a lot of the way people are doing it with trying to force that 40%, not getting an overlap or something like that, ends up, yeah, I get it. A lot of people aren't going to worry about that extra 50,000 attack or 100,000 attack. But you could get really lucky. You know, you could end up with 500,000 extra attack. That kind of thing. Just from re-rolling. I suggest rolling the bottom 2 and then rolling the second one. That way, if you see any overlap, you can instantly keep it if it's high enough, you know, like a 19% crit rate or a 98% crit damage. You could keep that with that overlap and then re-roll your innocent percentage. If you roll a 40, just keep re-rolling until you get an innocent percentage that has an overlap. Honestly, the 40, yeah, you got lucky. You can get it. You can keep it. But as we can tell, even just based on these stats alone, 40% isn't always the best option. Somehow 23% or 29% can be better. Now, I'm not saying go out and waste all your prelixirs or anything like that, but it could be better, you know. Alright, I'm going to end off with that. Y'all have a nice one. Like, subscribe, hit that bell so you get notifications whenever I actually post. I've got word that, you know, with some of the new content, I think they're going to start handing out some things that we can hand out to y'all, whether it's codes or something of that nature. So y'all get some extra goodies coming up soon. And having that bell lets you know I post something, and it may have a little code hidden in there somewhere. Yeah, y'all have a nice one, and I'll see you next time.